Hello,
Namaste, and welcome once again to the Soul to Soul Conversations podcast. I'm Caroline Crawford.
And I'm Paul Crawford.
And we have an exciting subject. Well, I think it is anyway, and I hope you will too. We're going to be talking about consciousness and some breakthroughs that we've had and been learning about recently. So welcome to the Soul to Soul Conversations podcast. Okay, so before we begin on the theme of consciousness, my heart goes out to you all. I just want to ask you a very small favour, please. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so we can really expand our audiences along with expanding our consciousness. And also, if you have subscribed or if you haven't, I'd like to ask you one more little favour. If you could please hit that little bell, the notification button, that will then tell you when we have uploaded a new podcast. So we kind of were doing 2 a month, but now we're moving into 3 a month because I'm hoping to keep up these, or I intend to keep up these full moon guided meditations for you, because the last one I did seems to have been very well received. So thank you for that as well. Thank you for your continued comments and support. We're just so appreciative.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it makes all the difference.
It does. So, consciousness, I'm going to let Paul begin.
What is consciousness? The way I look at consciousness, that it's everything. And that everything that exists is because of consciousness. And it's that aspect of the divine energy, the divine essence that permeates everything in existence, permeates through life, it permeates through all the plants, through the seas, through everything.
The mountains.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The trees.
And I think it's easy to forget sometimes that we look at these maybe the mountains and things like that it's not part of that conscious existence, and yet it knows how to grow from a seed into something much larger. It knows how to grow from a small mound up into these mountains. And it is something quite really incredible to connect to that as well. And here's what I love doing is and I find a real freedom in this, is when I connect to nature, when I connect to the trees, to the mountains, to the streams and the waters, that it really it feels like it elevates my consciousness. And I start to go beyond the questioning of, that mind that really starts racing and wants to know an explanation of this, that and everything else.
And that's, I think, do you think that's because, Paul, you're connecting with that consciousness? Because in truth, we are all, and everything is connected. Everything is consciousness. And you know what I'm going to say? My favourite aha moment I got several years ago during a meditation was, nothing exists outside of consciousness. Nothing exists outside of consciousness. And that just kind of blew my mind a little bit. And I think now, as we're all growing in this awareness and this consciousness that's even in this, what is seemingly nothing or spaciousness around us, it is all part of the field. The solar systems, the stars, the planets, everything is, and this seemingly spaciousness around us is consciousness and has consciousness.
Yeah, but I think you're right, when I'm connecting to things in nature, and I think it's because in humans we often have that what's referred to as that monkey mind, that chatter that goes on, that questioning, rather than just allowing ourselves to be in that moment. Trying to go beyond thoughts, trying to go beyond the rationale of something. And I think when we connect to nature, I think it awakens that energy and that essence within myself. And it really takes me into being more present. And as I do that, I think my consciousness expands because I'm allowing myself to let go, and I start moving into this aspect of greater freedom, which then connects me further to the consciousness of everything. And rather than looking for answers, I'm just looking to exist.
Yeah. And I think that, as humanity is evolving, we're all becoming so much more aware. And I asked the question actually to Paul's team, Jarama, of, we're often taught in humanity or in this on this planet that there are different levels, even like third dimension, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 12th, beyond. And even I would say teachers that I highly revere, like Dr. David Clements, perhaps Wayne Dwyer, and top of the league channelers, that channel out children and all sorts. We're taught about these levels, these dimensions, these stages of existence. And what Jarama said, or I said, is that just a human construct? And they said, yes, it is. It's a construct that's been brought in to allow humans, if you like, in their current form, to gain an understanding. But it's time now to really, if you like, move beyond that understanding, to develop further by and allowing ourselves to go beyond that kind of thinking of things in stages or dimensions, and just allow ourselves that to be, because that is then our true freedom, isn't it, Paul? And in that true state of freedom, we gain a deeper awareness, if you like, of our consciousness, of our divinity, of our divine consciousness. And this is a necessary energy and resonance, if you like, that will help elevate every aspect then of our lives here.
Yeah, and I think it's all part and parcel. We've been talking and so much has been made of moving away from the 3D into the 5D. And again, it's all these levels, but it has been a necessary part of our journey to bring about that way of understanding it in the initial aspect. But it's like anything where we begin to learn something, we create almost frames or learning frames or building blocks of how we can gain an understanding of something. And I think now we've evolved to a position where we're going beyond the need for those building blocks, and we can start to just allow ourselves to experience the understanding and the knowingness of what true consciousness is, by just allowing ourselves to be finding that stillness within us. Now, being still doesn't mean that we're sitting in meditation, although that is an extremely great way of doing it. But it's going about life with a greater mindfulness and a greater intention. And that will then connect us into a different energy. We're still observant of our surroundings, but it takes us beyond that. And I think that's what we're moving into. We're moving into an existence now of moving beyond this current seeming reality of this physicalness. And that is where that expanded consciousness really starts to come into being.
Yeah, being in that stillness or that quiet time, that, as we allow ourselves, I think, to let go in that quiet space, in that place that then opens within us, then this true resonance of existence can come into this consciousness, come into this awareness. And I think Paul and I have often spoke about, that merging of our higher selves, because we're not a human body having a spiritual experience. We're actually a soul, as I'm sure many of you know this. We are a soul or a spirit having a human experience. And the more we can merge and weave in those energies of our non-physical into this physical existence, the greater awareness we have, the greater joy we have, the greater we are heart-centered. And science, I think, now is beginning to verify that this heart center is a portal that connects us to the higher dimensions, and we're trying to move away from higher dimensions, but let's say the higher energies, and to the cosmos. And the more we take that time to live a heart-centered reality, we're then feeding everything back into that whole. So all the knowledge we have is then gently being mirrored back to us, and so that consciousness is infinite, isn't it? Consciousness, sorry, confidence. Consciousness is an ongoing, eternal, and infinite expansion and infinite energy. So, and I'm really good at doing this. As soon as we give something a name, it diminishes the energy of that. I call my bike's got a name, my car's got a name. I am a bit naughty at doing that, but I find it fun. I feel like I can have a deeper relationship with something. But maybe I ought to try letting go, and just seeing it for what it truly is. But you may have that. I was talking about when we think of things in dimensions or levels, you could liken that, if you like, to the creation of a business. You have the hierarchical chain in that business, if you like, the CEO or the managers, and then the sub-managers, and even the cleaners. But this can cause, if you like, a kind of hierarchy, or I am better than. And that is an illusion. That is not the way that we move forward into that greater consciousness, because every aspect, every person in that business, in that chain, is a valuable part, a valuable aspect of that. So, and I know many people, that do value, so many different aspects of human life, and animal life included in that as well. Lo and behold, I heard many years ago people saying that animals are dumb, and I'm like, really? That is just not true. Animals, again, like ourselves, are facets and parts of the divinity, the divine consciousness. But that expansion, I think, comes when we let go of trying to name things. We let go of trying to be a certain way. And I think Jarama said this about, think of consciousness as a mist, and that mist that has no beginning and no end as such. And that can then help us to try and view this consciousness as no beginning, as no end, but bringing us a greater awareness, bringing us a greater joy. And as well as that, I think consciousness, do you think, Paul, aligns us to, as it aligns us to our greater state of being, we come into greater health, greater joy, greater creativity, expansion of all our gifts and talents, and it's a beautiful thing.
I think it brings that mist, thinking of it, consciousness is just a mist. Because when I think of a mist, or I see a mist, it's kind of just this oneness of it. I don't look at it and see the different edges of it. No. It's just a oneness. And I think that's what consciousness is. It's a oneness. And everything else grows from that, or is formed from that consciousness. And I think, now don't quote me on this, but I'm sure it was Planck, who was a quantum theorist. Physicist, yeah. But he won the Nobel Prize, and he himself also said that matter is an evolvement of consciousness. So the consciousness was there first, and the matter evolved from that. And that's kind of how I see it, that the consciousness was there, that was part of that divine energy from source. And then everything else evolved out from that. And then when we're born into this dimension and other dimensions and everything else, we're actually initially we're like cloaked off from that. Well, I see first of all as it as being a veil, because when we're younger, we're not entrenched into any sort of way of thinking, like babies and children they're just amongst themselves. But as you get older and you start becoming, shall we say, indoctrinated into thinking a certain way, that's when we start creating and cloaking ourselves off from that. But we've been going through for the last decades about this letting go, this releasing, and this understanding in a much greater way. And we're now at that point, I think last year was a real busy year for so many for releasing and letting go in the preparedness for what we're talking about now. And that is stepping in to the truth of our expanded self, our expanded consciousness, which is something really amazing, and amazing things will come from it.
Yeah, and I like the I'm sure Jorama's going to come and talk to us soon, but I like the analogy of the mist, and I also like the analogy that Paul just said of the veils being lifted. And when I've been channeling and meditating a lot recently, they've said that those veils are no longer. And again, we're all living in different kind of realities, if you like, or different existences at the same time. We have many lives going on simultaneously. But I like also the analogy of letting in the light. We might open the curtains a little bit, or we could open them wide and just see through our eyes of truth, see through our eyes of our divine consciousness. Because when we do, we let go of doubt, we let go of limitation, we let go of restriction, and we really live with eyes open. And then I think, like I say, life can be much more enriching, have much more depth to it, much more joy, much more great conversations, much more engagement, because we're not fearing anything. So consciousness would never give us fear. So just trusting in ourselves and going beyond these levels and dimensions now is, in my mind and in my consciousness, definitely the way forwards. So I can hear Jorama coming through, Paul's beautiful team of non-physical beings that has guided us for 4 decades now, and always give us such wisdom and clarity. So I'm going to sit back and say welcome and hello, Jorama.
Hello, my friends. We will keep this short and sweet, as they say. But now is very much a time of greater alignment. And not just alignment within oneself, but allowing that alignment to really generate a new energy and an essence within you that is connecting you to the resonance of all of creation. And all of creation that is evolved from the consciousness of the divine. That divine aspect that permeates and radiates every living thing. And it is a matter of, what is it that you wish to achieve? What is it that you wish to do? And how you wish to go about it? And we are saying, let go of those aspects, let go of those questions, and just allow yourself to be in the fullness of the moment. Because when you are in the fullness of the moment, the questioning stops, the questioning ceases. Now, this is not to say that you do not show an inquisitiveness about things, but in that moment of connection, you are allowing yourself to be free, almost to be free of thought, to be free of what belief systems you are currently holding, free of any limitations. And you allow yourself to be in the energy and the truth of who you are. And the truth of who you are is part of that consciousness, which is everything. As has been said, everything exists within consciousness, and consciousness is infinite, and therefore you too are infinite. And so we encourage you to allow yourself to step in to the power of that infinite essence of your truth, of who you are. And as you allow yourself to do that, you will find that there becomes a greater clarity in everything about you. You will find that things that used to bother you no longer do. And this is not that you are withdrawing from life. This is not that you are separating yourself from life. It is that you are allowing yourself to experience life without limitations and without judgment. Because it is through the judgment that we create the limiting belief systems that often comes from what we have been taught, what we have been shown, and not who we truly are. And now is a very auspicious time to allow yourself to move beyond everything that you have done before, everything that you have thought you were before, and to experience life in its fullness. Because as you experience life in its fullness, you will find that it evolves and expands into something completely new, and in ways that are beyond even your most imaginative of dreams. Because you will be imbuing the resonance and the frequency of that higher resonance, that higher existence, that oneness of all of life. And there is a freedom within that. There is a clarity within that. There is an excitement within that. Just allowing yourself to be. And as you allow yourself to be in each moment of life, rather than diminishing your energy through worry or concerns or fear for what may or may not be, what may or may not take place, free yourself, let go, and connect to your truth. Express your truth in loving ways. This is not to say that you are expected to be perfect, for this is a learned experience after all. And the physical existence will, by its very essence, create certain limitations. That you are now ready to go beyond, that you are now equipped with the understanding to go beyond the limitations that currently exist. And you step into this, the energy of the desire for something so much more, for that tranquility, for that peacefulness, for that balance, for that oneness, for that love, for the resonance of true freedom, to just exist and experience the wondrous joys from that. For when you are living in the present moment in that expanded state, you are going beyond the physical conditioning that is currently an aspect of many who live here now. And we encourage you to believe in yourself, to believe in who you are, the strength and the encouragement within rather than from without. Because there will always be the naysayers, the doubters. But if you can imbue within yourself that inner strength, then no matter what is said externally to you will not have an effect, because you are focused and you are entrenched into the true energy of your own divinity. And we are here as always to assist you on your journey. Sometimes that energy and that help comes from an unseen way, or in an unseen way, should we say. But also it comes in a very physical way. It might be that you see a sign, or you overhear somebody saying something, or somebody is brought into your life to bring a deeper meaning to yourself, to existence, and to what the potential to life is. It is your job to be open to noticing those synchronicities and have fun along the way. You are consciousness. That consciousness that is infinite in the divine loving energy that it resonates in. Know it, feel it, trust it as you allow yourself to be it. And with that, my friends, we will say goodbye for now. But remember, whatever happens, whatever takes place, there is no judgment. So allow yourself to move beyond self-judgment and the limiting energy that creates within you. Goodbye, my friend.
Thank you so much. After all, thank you. Always beautiful, wise and practical, down-to-earth teachings that just help us move further in and open and develop more into our higher consciousness. So thank you, Jarama, and thank you, Paul. So just a few main points to go over. Remember that thinking in levels of dimensions and levels and stages is really a human construct, and that you are and we are ready to really move beyond that. Perhaps imagine that consciousness as a never-ending mist, and open those curtains wider, get that full light in, because the more we embody our true selves, the more that we'll realise that everything we ever need and need to know is there for us to tap into. So tap into that heart centre in your meditations, in your still time, and allow that to just keep expanding your awareness so we can all live with a greater consciousness. So I'm going to leave a question with you. If you would, please, we would really appreciate it. Leave in the comments. What, if any, has been one of your aha moments? You know, when you suddenly got something like, you know, just an example, it doesn't have to be anything like that, you know, and I got that thought that, or that realisation that nothing exists outside of consciousness, but anything that you suddenly got or was a breakthrough moment, an aha moment for you, leave that down in the comments with us, or any other comments or even questions you have on consciousness. We would deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much for being with us. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I'll be back with Paul and myself on our ones that we do together. And next month, we think we may be giving you some guidance and information and topic areas for discussion on these new AI things that are coming in. This recent Claude bot, I don't know if you've heard about that, and Maltbot, an AI that is able to override a lot of our choices and decisions, which we'll talk about that in our next episode. So take good care. Please remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Have a really good month. We love you with all our hearts.
And that just leaves us to say,
Namaste. Oh, okay. We'll say hello, namaste, and welcome to the sub. I say that. You just say hello, namaste. Okay.
Right, okay.
Hang on. Oh dear. Okay.
Hello, namaste.
And don't do it again. It's namaste. Last time. We'll get it right. We won't bother that. Okay.